Welcome in, everybody, to another amazing episode of the Dinger Dudes
Doo-doo-doo.
podcast. I am returned. I haven't been on many episodes in the past few weeks, but I've been able to take the time today to get back on my favorite podcast to do a weekly podcast with my favorite guys in the world to do it with, Andrew and Chase, and I guess I like doing it with
Stop.
Jackson too. It's We got a lot to talk about. We're right in the midst of playoff season when it comes to this MLB playoffs. I believe we have a lot to talk about because the Blue Jays are off to a hot start against those Yankees. The Mariners dropped a crucial first game against those Tigers. The Phillies, we're about to get that game one win against the Dodgers, but didn't turn to what Teoscar Hernandez had something else to say about that. And the Brewers offense looks unstoppable. Gonna talk about it all, but let's go ahead and get into it. Jackson, let's go ahead and start it off with you, my guy. What do you think about the playoffs so far? And what do you think about the wild card series? I mean, were there any shocks from that wild card series for you?
I wouldn't say there was necessarily any shocks. I personally thought, as I said multiple times before in multiple different episodes, I thought the Boston Red Sox were going to be able to take down the New York Yankees because the Yankees were on a little bit of a cold streak towards the end of the regular season. And you've said it multiple times, Steven, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. We've seen it multiple times, like 2023, for example, Arizona Diamondbacks went like 88 and 74, made the World Series. Last year we had the Tigers go on like a 30, winning the majority of their last 30 games. So with this season, Cam Schlitter was amazing for the Yankees in that final wild card game. The Guardians took down the Tigers, or no, the Tigers took down the Guardians. Reverse that. I don't know. I don't know. I thought the Guardians were going to beat the Tigers. I thought the Red Sox were going to beat the Yankees. Two of my wild card predictions went wrong. But these Blue Jays are scary. This is the most complete Blue Jays team I've seen since 2016 with the Jose Bautista whole bat flip thing against the Texas Rangers. And I really like this Blue Jays offense. You got Vlad Jr. doing his thing, George Springer, Bo Bichette still balling out, and Ernie
No,
Clement as
well,
well, an
actually,
underrated guy.
Bo
So,
Bichette did not make the division series roster because of a knee injury. So actually, that's something I want to talk about mainly when we talk about the Blue Jays. Is that if you look at all the inactives and all they're missing in their
yep.
division series roster, most notably Bo Bichette and Max Scherzer, there is a lot of injuries on this Blue Jays roster. And yet, look how they're performing against the Yankees. They are currently outscoring them, I believe, 16-1 because they dropped 10 last night. I was watching the game before the podcast, and they were up 5-0 on the Yankees. And it's just pitching wise, like Savage today for the Blue Jays through 30
Yes,
or
Savage. Yeah.
Savage, I'm sorry, through
He is a
40 pit
savage, though.
through 40 pitches and 3 innings, had 7 strikeouts against this Yankees lineup, which is absolutely ridiculous. And they've hit a couple home runs. I know Kirk hit one yesterday. I can't remember who hit one today. He hit a 2-run home run the first or the second inning. Can't remember who it was, but
Ernie
regardless,
Clement.
Clement, that's who it was. It was Clement. But look up and down the roster, it's a bunch of singles and doubles. That's all it was yesterday. That's all it's been so far today. And I mean, if you do that on a consistent basis, that's all you need to beat anyone in this postseason. That's just consistency all down the road, all down the
Shout out the
lineup.
Milwaukee Brewers. That's how they got to the best record in baseball in the first place. They don't hit home runs. They just play ABC baseball.
And
Well,
and
thank you
that's
for talking about Milwaukee, Andrew.
and listen, the crazy thing about Milwaukee to me is the fact that I mean, ask if you're not a Milwaukee fan, I will give anybody $100 if you could tell me without even looking it up who the 9 players in that roster is in that lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers because I can't tell you. I don't know. There are some players in here that I've like that you don't really hear of. You know, you hear Durbin, you have Perkins, you have Joey Ortiz, the batting ninth in that lineup. You have Sam Frelick, who was that all-star rookie that came up for him, and dude, Churio for the Brewers was the one that lit it up for me in that game
We
one.
just
Three
took
for
him out
three,
too
three
with injury.
RBIs. And like you said, and William Contreras, you know, I will always love William Contreras for everything that he did for the Braves. And I am happy for him that he's just been able to find his own in Milwaukee. And he has just been a staple for that lineup for the Brewers. And like you said, man, it's not power when it comes to this Milwaukee lineup. It is just straight up clutch hitting. I mean, they were killing the Cubs in game one when it was just situational hitting, getting base hits, getting guys over. It was like they just couldn't get an out. The Cubs just, they were trying every pitch they could. The Milwaukee Brewers have built their identity on fighting at the plate, at fouling off baseballs. And like when you have every hitter 1 through 9 doing that, you have a successful lineup. This is straight up taking me back to 2015 with the Kansas City Royals. That's what this
Yes.
Milwaukee team is reminding me of.
And Steven, while you're talking about the Cubs, I have a question for you and I guess for everybody. So Craig Counsell already is facing a lot of controversy. Talk about yesterday when he pulled Matthew Boyd from the first inning. And though he did give up a lot of runs in the first inning, a lot of early struggles, a lot of people think it was very controversial. Pulled him out. I think he only had 30 pitches at the time and replaced him with Michael Soroka, who was on the Nationals early this year, went to Chicago after he had struggles in Washington, got injured in his first appearance in Chicago, came in later in the bullpen and struggled at the end of the season. So not only did you pull a guy who's only 30 pitches in, you replace him with a guy who's been trouble on the mound, and trouble in a bad way, all season long. A lot of Cubs fans are unhappy about that Craig Counsell decision. What do y'all think about it?
A lot of people have never been happy with the whole Craig Counsell decision. Actually, when you brought up Craig Counsell, I didn't think you were going with like the pitching decision thing. I thought it was going to be about the whole return to Milwaukee type thing because he coached Milwaukee
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, Craig Counsell has always been in controversial decisions, especially when it comes to the playoffs and pitching changes. When you have a guy like Mike Soroka, by the way, who has not been the same since like his first couple years in Atlanta.
Since his injury.
Yeah,
Since he tore his ACL twice, which
Yep.
any pitcher going through that, it's you're never going to be the same.
Yeah.
So Matthew Boyd has been really solid all season. Well, up until I guess this point. I feel like there's other avenues that could have gone. Like Brad Keller was there, Andrew Kittredge, but he wasn't even a full inning in.
Well, to me, well, I was going to say, to me, the controversy for me, I didn't mind him pulling Matthew Boyd because you got to think about it. They had an off day today. Game two's not till tomorrow. So it didn't really matter that you're going in your bullpen early. You're going to have an off day regardless. I just didn't like the Michael Soroka call. I thought that was probably the last guy I would have went to in the Cubs bullpen.
Yeah. I was like, you could have pulled Andrew Kittredge. You could have pulled him.
So this is something that I feel like needs to be talked about because, I've just been sitting here patiently waiting for my turn to erupt because towards the end of the year, I'd say about a month and a half ago, that we had an episode. It was one episode we had a special guest on. I was trying to think back of who we might have had on that episode, but we talked about who we think is going to win the World Series based on where it stood right now. And at that time, the Detroit Tigers had a very commanding lead in the division, and they looked like they were just going to be absolute locks for the ALDS. But then, of course, I think the biggest surprise in September to me was the Cleveland Guardians surged to make a run back into the playoffs. And of course, they completely shook up that division, snuck into the wild card, and got their matchup against the Detroit Tigers. Now, about a month and a half ago, when I said that the Detroit Tigers were going to win the World Series, at that point, I kind of lost all hope in this Detroit team. Now, of course, it was fun watching the Atlanta Braves go to Detroit and help kind of really derail the Tigers towards the late stages of September. But then, of course, then come the wild card series. Now, for those who don't remember, the Guardians eliminated the Tigers in the ALDS last year. So here you go. The Tigers get their rematch against the Guardians, but of course it's in Cleveland. Tigers had a big backslide in September, but I think what really set the tone to me for Detroit was what we all thought in the first place, was Skubal getting 14 strikeouts in game one, which for one was a career high and the biggest stage he's ever been on thus far, and the fact that the Detroit bullpen really backed up what the Tigers bats were able to do in that elimination game where they exploded for 6 runs, and Will Vest West in particular is what really surprised me out of the Detroit bullpen. Now, here's the thing, though. I think you're looking at this now, of course, Carpenter's go-ahead two-run home run gave them that game-one win against the Blue Jays. But here's what I want to say about Detroit, just really quick, just before we go forward, because, yes, I would love to see Detroit go out and win the World Series. That's who I'm really pulling for. I've been a very big fan of their development since the ending of last season, but they did leave 15 runs on base in that wild card series. I think it was game 2 against Cleveland. And that's something that strikes me as a big red flag because in short series like the ALDS, that's stuff that's going to kill you. And I do think they're going to need a little bit more consistency from their top bats, especially at the opposing pitchers. Because, I mean, Blue Jays, yes, Chase, I know we were alluding to it earlier, how offensively, they're very deployed right now in all their injuries. But pitching, to me, is what really got them to their American League dominance and why it's been such a big surprise that they took that division away from the Yankees. So I think you're going to have to get some more consistency at the bat if you are Detroit. But I will say, for Seattle, he was really the lone threat for or Rodriguez was really the only lone threat for Seattle in that game 1. He went 3 for 5, had that homer and an RBI single. But aside from that, I mean, Cal Riley had 3 hits, but that was it. No runs produced with those hits because the bases were always empty. And the rest of Seattle's lineup went 0 for 28, which is absolutely brutal. And Troy Melton, who pitched for Detroit, through 4 innings, gave that 1 run. Then Kirby for Seattle threw 5. I think he gave up 2, but he still struck out 8. So it was a great pitching matchup. But then again, Will Vest came in for Detroit in relief through 2 scoreless innings, and that's when Montero got in and closed the game out. An extra
Shout out
inning
Montero.
because of Zach McKinstry's, again, 2-run home run in the top of the 11th. So my biggest takeaway from that series so far is both sides pitch well again. The difference for me was Detroit's timing at the plate, their bullpen, and their execution. So I know Seattle fans are really juiced up right now. This is their first playoff trip they've had. I mean, well, of course they won the playoffs last year, but I think this is a
first time hosting a
real
playoff series
opportunity
in
for
years.
them to make a run in the postseason. But I mean, there's just a lot of missed opportunities for Seattle. Again, 0 for 28 is not a fluke. That's not something you look at and be like, okay, they just struggled for 1 game. No, that just shows that they had a big failure to adjust or have any breakthrough in the first place. And then Vargas, 11th inning, take a look. He had a leadoff walk. And then extras, that's dangerous, especially when there's a leadoff runner at second, and he still couldn't clean it up. And there's just a lot to be concerned about if you're Seattle.
This Seattle offense,
I like this Detroit team.
I think that's one thing you got to talk about with Seattle and Jackson. I think me and you were kind of about to allude to the same point. Seattle lives and dies by the home run ball.
Yep.
They live and die by power. And when you're not getting that power behind the plate, guess what you're going to run into? You're going to run into games like last night to where it's just you're not like Brewers. The Brewers, if they're not getting the home run ball, they're still scoring 5, 6 runs a game because they can sit there and string hits together. Yep. Mariners, if Cal Riley, if Julio Rodriguez, Eugenio Suarez, if they're all getting strikeouts and if they're not getting that home run, getting the pop in the bat, in the Mariners offense, you're just not going to get any run support.
Exactly.
Yeah. With this, the Seattle Mariners, I mean, Steven hit it right on the nose. With the later half of the Seattle Mariners lineup, had a combined 7 strikeouts. Had a combined 7 strikeouts in the later. That was the later half of the lineup. The first 3 guys, Rosarena, Rowley, and Rodriguez, only combined for 2 strikeouts. So I mean, like, it's yet to see more consistency out of the Seattle Mariners batting lineup, who's been so consistent all season. I mean, Rowley's been doing amazing. Rosarena has had an amazing year as well. And Eugenio Suarez, Josh Naylor, Canzoni, Polanco, guys like them. But I do want to get your guys' opinion on this. I know it was in a wild card series, but there was a lot of controversy about the whole Padres and Cubs game and how that all went down with all the umpiring and the calls that were made in that game. And
especially the last call on Bogarts, the strikeout.
With the Padres, like, I guess almost attacking the umpires. From the video I saw it on Instagram and TikTok. I want to know y'all's opinions on, like, I guess that.
I I wouldn't say attacking the umpires.
Not attacking. I
They
didn't say
they would have
attacking.
if they weren't
Almost.
hold back. I mean, they were
Yeah,
I
getting
would
held
say
back
almost.
from getting into their face and everything.
But
So
I would say everything the Padres argued for was completely valid. I didn't watch much of Game One. Andrew and I were taking a test. Game Two and Three both equally had some of the worst umpiring I've ever seen in my life. And I know that's a major controversy you're talking about, Jackson. And it favored the Cubs a lot more than did the Padres that entire series. And then yeah, that Bogart strikeout call was just a icing on the cake. That was the volcano eruption for the Padres. Now, I'm not going to say by any means that's why the Padres lost by any means. However, I do say that it's. I mean, what can you do? I mean, the head tap ADS system is going to be a thing next year, so this isn't going to be a thing we're going to have to really worry about too much. But for now, it's just what do you do? It's just bad umpiring.
Yeah, I do
anybody
want to. Oh, sorry, you guys, Steven.
just real quick, and this
You're
is
good.
the whole thing about the ABS system. This is why this system is needed
Yep.
because of moments like this in the playoffs that's going to cost your team from getting into the next round or even just for continuing the game. That's a crucial call that needs to be made in that moment. And like you said, the first thing that the player's going to do is just go straight to the helmet and no issue. It's just like, okay, cool, missed the call, you're going to first. But
Yep.
now that because this system wasn't in place, now you're just asking the what if question. What if that system was in place? What if
Yep.
like if we got that call, do you think the Padres win game 3 and they're playing in the NLDS?
And this is a
No.
bad look. This is a bad look for the MLB, by the way, because it is a special privilege to be umpiring a playoff game. The MLB carefully selects what umpiring crew they're going to have for each MLB game, meaning in hindsight, all the umpires remaining that are calling these postseason games are the MLB's best of the best umpiring crew. When you have this many missed calls in one series alone, it's alarming for the MLB. And like you said, Steven, is an exact reason why you got to have the AES system because we can't rely. If you're supposed to be the best of the best and you have that poor of a performance in one series alone, the ADS system is the only thing that can fix it.
Yeah, and it's bad. It's really bad. And you guys said it all. And I don't, and I'm not, what I'm about to say here is not excusing the poor officiating by the umpires because that does need to be toned down to a T when it is the postseason. Regular season, it's still outrageous, but you can get away with it. But come postseason time, that stuff's not going to slide. So I'm not excusing it, but I also don't want it to be the display of that's why the Padres didn't beat the Cubs in the wild card because yes, especially in game 3, you had a lot of missed calls. The umpiring, I think the efficiency was almost about 60%, which is terrible, terrible from an umpiring crew. But I do want to say that the Padres had their opportunities and they kind of shut the door on themselves in the later inning. I mean, to give credit to Chicago, defensively, I mean, you had stellar plays all throughout that wild card. Dansby Swanson was exceptional in the infield. Nico Horner, Crow Armstrong had robbed a couple hits that the Padres had in a couple of their rally attempts. And then again, no, of course, the Cubs and Game 3, of course, had that 3-6-1 double play. I think that was induced by Jeremiah Estrada, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, if look, I get it. Umpiring crew was terrible. But like I said, if you're looking at the Padres as a whole, I mean, they had offensive failure throughout the entire series. I mean, look at their main hitters. Tatis, Machado had that big home run in game 2. I mean, but aside from that, Luis Reyes, they combined for 0 for 11 in an
Yeah.
elimination game. Top 3 hitters, 0 for 11 combined. I don't care how bad the umpiring is, you're not going to win when your top 3 hitters can't get anybody on base. Now, of course, I'm trying to remember exactly what the statistic was, but basically the Padres also had no ability to get any meaningful hits when they did have runners in scoring positions. There was one statistic that I had in my head, and now it just completely went blank. But that doesn't really matter. And then they have no reliability in their bullpen at all, and that's to me that's been a bit. Sorry, in their starting rotation. That's been a big problem for them, especially in the last 2 months of the season. But Darvish, rough elimination start, I think loomed large in that game three to begin with. And that made an early exit to the bullpen, which also made that game three nearly impossible to pull out. So, yes, the umpiring was really bad, but I am sick and tired of hearing Padre fans make that the excuse as to why they didn't win that game because they had their opportunities.
We saw it. We saw it with the Manny Machado post game interview. I don't know if y'all saw that, but I
I
saw
did,
it
yeah.
when the we're sports media people. Like we want to get into sports media at some point, And they asked Manny Machado like, how would you assess the season? He's like, we lost. Come on, really, man? I mean, like, but you got to assess the game at least, and inconsistencies with the offensive batting lineup. And you talk about starting rotation inconsistencies. There's a reason why Dylan Cease is being let go before the end of his contract,
Yep.
being sent out to free agency. I mean, he was not that great this year. I would love him in St. Louis. I mean, but before we get into like the whole off season with our teams and like coaching hirings, by the way, I do want to throw out some hot takes that were sent in from some viewers of Dinger Dudes. I want to start with Parker Andell. By the way, he is a
Shout
with
out
One
Parker.
Sports Network. Make sure to go follow One Sports Network.
He's
Whoever
also a
wins,
Yankees fan.
yeah, but this doesn't relate to the Yankees at all.
Okay.
Whoever wins the Phillies and Dodgers series is winning the World Series. And I want to
That's
start
not
with
a
Steve.
that's not a
That's
hot
not a
take.
hot take. Yeah, I
That's
think a
not
I
a
lot
want
hot
to
of
take
people
start
at
with
feel
all.
Stephen
that way.
Lambert.
Yeah, Chase said it. I don't think that's a hot take. I think a lot of people feel that. In fact, the Phillies were my World Series representative in the National League. Unfortunately, Mariners are my other side in the American League, and unfortunately, I was hoping that the home run ball would be prevalent in the playoffs, and it just wasn't in that first game. Still a long series. They've only lost the one, so I mean, it's 5 game series. I think the Mariners can turn it around against the Tigers. But whatever. We're talking about the Phillies. Like I said, this Dodgers team. Oh my gosh, dude. It's so frustrating because they just have everybody. You have Mookie, you have Otani, you have Max Muncy, Freddie Freeman. It's the lineup's loaded, the pitching staff is loaded, the bullpen is loaded, and on the other side, the Phillies. It sucks that they don't have they've dealt with injuries all season,
Yep.
and as much as I can't stand the Phillies,
They
I
still
have to
pushed to a
admit that their
96
lineup.
win season with that.
Say what?
I said they still pushed to a 96 win season with that.
Absolutely, and because of that lineup, like they dealt with injuries on that rotation all year, and yet because like their lineup is the best of the best. Like the Phillies 1 through 9 lineup can match up with any team in baseball. It's that good. And when the Phillies lineup is on point, there's not a lot of teams that can compete with them. But it's just the fact of like, unfortunately, they're running into a Dodgers team who stacking up 1 through 9 can compete with that Phillies lineup. And unfortunately, I feel like the pitching is the reason that I feel like the Dodgers are going to end up, beating the Phillies. I think that series is actually going to go 5. I really feel like it's going to come down to a game 5, and I, I kind of agree that whoever comes out of that series is more than likely the favorite to win the World Series.
I think so too. Like when you look at this matchup, it's the best and the second best teams in this postseason facing each other. And like you said, both stacked lineups on either side. The Phillies, despite their pitching struggles, like you said, Jackson, posted a 93 win season.
96.
96 one season. This is Zach Wheeler's farewell tour. All the Phillies fans want him to do for Zach Wheeler. A lot of Phillies fans also think, and I kind of think this too, that this is like a win or bust season now for the Phillies because this is 3-4 years in a row. They've had the same foundation. They've had the same the same intensity headed to postseason, and they haven't even reached, or they reached a World Series in 2022, lost to the Astros, but they haven't won the hoisted the trophy yet, and it kind of feels like this foundation is going to slowly start to fall apart, starting with the loss of Zach Wheeler at the end of this year, if the Phillies don't win the World Series this year. But you look on the Dodgers side, I remember me and Steven were talking about together, watching them play the Reds. I mean, just in the postseason, other than the Phillies, who else is going to take out the Dodgers? I mean, you look at last night, Otani went 0 for 4. Yet he was still on the mound, by the way, and threw 9 strikeouts. In the seventh inning, who was the hero? Teoscar Hernandez, who was batting sixth in the lineup with a 3-run home run. It wasn't even the top of the lineup, which just shows how massively stacked and unfair this Dodgers lineup is, all up and down. And I mean, I will also say, I mean, you have to consider the whole season as a whole, and consider this is the first time in how long there wasn't a 100-win team in this year's MLB season. Matter of fact, the Dodgers was a wild card team on the National League side. They weren't even a top
Something
two
that really
seed,
shocked me.
which is something we're talking about the Dodgers probably being the overall favorites. So I do want to be careful here. Why the Dodgers on paper are really scary, I do want to say overall, this is probably the most like toss-up postseason I think we've seen in a long time. Because while I do think the Dodgers are the high favorites, it still wouldn't shock me if any team in the postseason turns out to win the World Series. I mean, it's just that close entirely. So I think that's something you have to consider too.
Wait, and here's the thing,
and that's probably what. So I just want to say that's probably what Parker was talking about when you consider that a hot take, even though I don't think it's technically a hot take.
But another thing that we have to remember is that if history is going to continue to repeat itself in the MLB postseason, it is always the hottest team going to October. And something that I want to point out in relation to that is Mookie Betts. Not a great season. I mean, if you look at the regular season for face value, it's not a Mookie Betts season that we're all accustomed to. But look at what he's done in like the last 2 weeks heading into October and how he performed in that wild card series against Cincinnati. Now, yes, it was against Cincinnati. It was kind of a long shot that they made in the first place. A lot of pieces had to be moved together for them to get that last wild card spot. But despite all that, Mookie Betts bat got hot at the right time. And something that I want to simplify with Phillies fans for a minute, because Chase, you talked about it. It kind of seems like this is their do or die season, but this is just such a tough situation for them to be in, for this to be the NLDS, because the Dodgers were a wild card team, and you would expect them to hold that number one spot in the National League. But of course, the Brewers took it. But something that even when it goes right for the Phillies, like it did in that game one, think about what happened when they had a bases loaded jam in the 8th inning. And you look at that, like Ohtani, like you said, Chase, 6 innings, 9 Ks, gave up 3 runs. That's great if you're a Phillies fan. And then you get the bases loaded in the 8th. Now, I can't remember who got them out of that bases loaded jam, but it doesn't matter because look at their bullpen as a whole. You got Glass now. You got Viesa. You got rookie Suzuki, who I think got the save in that game, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, they had the ability to respond with her.
Well, don't forget Tanner Scott.
What's up?
So don't forget Tanner Scott.
Yeah, exactly. I can't even name them all. And that's the thing. And yeah, it's just, now they do have weaknesses. Of course, every team has their weakness. After Ohtani, the rotation's going to get a little bit thinner. So they have to manage that
a little bit thinner
carefully. But if any reliever falls,
a little bit thinner, So
Mookie,
Blake Snell.
Hernandez.
Blake Snell is on the back end of that.
You meant the rotation. Oh yeah.
I told you I'm trying to get level.
Oh, you meant it. I thought you meant the lineup. Okay. Pitching rotation.
What is he talking about? It gets thinner. It gets thinner.
You didn't even let me finish my point.
You have Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Roki Sasaki hadn't had the starts of the season. But
Finner,
you still have him. Guys now. Like,
hold on, thinner. Hold on, you're not understanding the term thinner. Thinner doesn't mean worse. What I meant by thinner is when you're looking at it as a series as a whole. Once you get past Ohtani, then the Phillies can focus about what they have to do for the next game. I was talking about in preparation. I wasn't talking about in the terms of it getting worse.
I get what you mean, but it's also like cool. Got past Ohtani. That's a tough one. 9 strikeouts. Who's next on our docket? Blake Snell. Well, screw me.
Mind you, Ohtani didn't make his first postseason start till this year. He didn't make his first start in a long time till the end of the season, and he's still this dominant on the mound. Ohtani is a freak of nature, yet he's still not the best guy on the rotation.
That's what I'm saying.
That's scary. But
if you're the Phillies, you can look at it from a game-by-game basis because they've also got multiple starters that can go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, like Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Luis Lorizado, and then Aaron Nola. I mean, Sanchez got the start in game one, and he looked great. I mean, he looked fantastic given what he had to go through in that Dodgers lineup. It's going to take a lot of resilience from this Phillies team to win, but I do think, like Steven said, if you look at both their starting rotations going head to head for the rest of these matchups, I could easily see this going to game five. I think it's probably the most probable series to go to 5 games in terms of the divisional series. But yeah, it's such a tough thing to say that this is a do or die year for the Phillies, because this is a terrible, terrible gauntlet to go through if you're trying to win a pennant.
So we had one more hot take, but unfortunately we only have 3 minutes left in this Zoom meeting. Very quick, give your takes. Right now, Blue Jays are up 12-0. Trey Yesavage.
Oh my gosh. Max Fried, are you kidding me?
Vladimir Guerrero hit a grand slam. That was y'all got to go back and look at that grand slam.
Trey Yesavage is throwing a no-hitter right now.
How many strikeouts is he at now? He was at 7 through 3.
Ooh. 11 and 1 walk. So this is from John Joyner.
Okay,
This is from John Joyner. Very quick. We have 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, you good.
Do the Blue Jays, can they contend and win for the World Series? And we talk about the Dodgers being like the top team to look out for, even being a 3 seed, winning 93 games this season. Do the Blue Jays have a chance at beating the Dodgers?
Absolutely. I think so. I think what we're seeing right now, Angie just said it. It's whoever's hottest in the postseason, and I would go far to say that the Blue Jays looks like the hottest team in the postseason right now. They're not just beating the Yankees; they're embarrassing the Yankees to a level I didn't think was possible heading into this division series.
I just saw that Vladdy slam, Steven, that you're talking about. Absolutely, I think
12-0. Oh my.
But with Max Fried started for the Yankees today. Max Fried, and this is the result. Right. That's all.
The Blue Jays win the World Series, I'm buying a Blue Jays jersey. I will buy.
I am really hoping we're going to get a Blue Jays and Mariners ALCS.
Me too.
That's going to feed families. That's going to be a great series if that happens.
Absolutely.
I think the Blue Jays have a chance. But Steven, do you wanna wrap this up?
All right. Well, we thank everybody for joining us here on this episode, talking about some of the MLB playoffs. Make sure you're tuning in for future episodes. We're also going to be posting some stuff on Instagram as well. We're going to try and post some more content. Obviously, we all have personal lives. You know, Jackson's got college, twins, and me. We got some work stuff going on. So a lot of stuff we got going on that's keeping us busy. But we're going to try and keep going on Dinger Dudes content, throughout the end of the season. We're going to try and write off the rest of the playoffs and then maybe get some content going off during the off season. But make sure you're following us along. If you haven't followed us here on YouTube, please subscribe. Please follow us on Instagram if you haven't done so as well. And we also got TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us everywhere. We appreciate everybody supporting us. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up, and we're going to see you all next time.